Oh, yo, this is Ryder here to review the Kamen Hibiki Legend Henshin Belt Series, Henshin Onsa Onkaku. So this was from the last wave of the Legend Henshin Belt series that also featured the Kivat Belt and the Kaiksa driver, to which, I guess to still have a main rider included because Kaiksa's was obviously for the occasion of the 520th anniversary. We have Hibiki's main transformation device, to which this is the first release of this thing since the complete selection release, and it's just funny that this is still under the Legend Henshin Belt series, but I digress. We have Hibiki on the right, the Onkaku on the center and such. It's just a really nice box, though it's admittedly too large. There's Hibiki right there, the bottom, like so, and just the instructions on how to use it, just like what they did with the V-buckle. Like, the fact they probably had to actually, dig through their archives just to find pictures of Hibiki using it, it's pretty funny. But, again, it's in this, I appreciate it's in the same style as what the typical Legend Henshin belts are, which is why it's the same exact height, which I don't like that, but I mean, it's consistent. Like, I appreciate that, but again, it's just kind of funny that I think font wise it's all different and such. But again, just to go off of here, it's just I like the uniformed formats they are and such, but it's also just really interesting just how committed they were to at least make this box consistent with the others, because I didn't even notice the height difference, and it's just that it's more curved now. But yeah, this is definitely interesting. So obviously we will open it up. Weep. Alright, so here we have the Onkaku out of its unreasonably long box. And honestly, I still really like the silhouette of this thing overall and such. Obviously, one of the biggest detractors of this is that obviously the entire fork's been hollowed out, but obviously it's just because of budgetary reasons. And yes, of course, this thing is missing paint. I think it's missing paint on the disc animal holder, because it's supposed to be, I think this entire section's supposed to be gold. Obviously, except for the dots and such. And I think this section too. But honestly, I think for the most part, besides the back too, of course the back's not going to be painted. They at least went through the effort of painting this, which is honestly kind of unnecessary, but cool. At least get this out there and such. We got the pull tab right there. We have the button back here. It's no longer on the side like the DX one. And the biggest thing with this is that you can just simply flick this out and then flick out the rest of it to have the fork mode, or the, I don't know what you call this specifically, but just like the folded out mode of the Onkaku. And honestly, again, I've always just thought this was just a really interesting looking device. Obviously we have the Oni face here, and I just like how the fork becomes the horns for the Oni and such. It's just really cool with how they got that to look and such. And of course, just like the original, it is kind of tiny to hold. And obviously, to say this right away, I'm pretty sure the box says this too, you cannot insert disc animals onto this thing. This thing, I think, is too wide for the disc animals, and also this thing doesn't turn anymore to make sounds for it. Of course, but I feel like that just has to be stated and such. Also, I really do like this portion, because obviously I did not realize that it was actually hollowed out here, which is pretty interesting. But also, this circle, or not circle, this hole here is obviously interestingly cool because this is obviously where the Onkaku will hold. Like, you know, you can loop something around it and then it can hold, it can be holstered on the side of the Kaien Susumi. I forgot what the Desired Driver called the belt. But again, it's cool. And also, I just really like how this thing does clip on, because it does have these, like, basically this is the same plastic as this, but like it does have these ports here, so then this thing can actually like click on and such by friction and such. And like honestly, for now at least, it does stay on pretty well. Obviously, like when you're, I guess, being gentle with it. I think when you're being rough, yeah, it's not the greatest. And like again, this isn't spring action, but I mean it's more like how the actual prop is of just you just flick it out by force, and then you just have to like push it on just to give more oomph to it. Because again, the original toy, you have to press the button here and it will just like immediately flick out and such. And I guess I will have to say this too, obviously there's no LEDs on the eyes and such. But honestly, like just flicking it out, it's really nice and such. So we will pull the pull tab out now, because it's one of these long ones, which means, yeah, this literally is like a ride watch. So you have to open it up to put it back in, which is unfortunate. But anyways, I'll try not to cover the speaker because that's technically what's annoying. But anyways, just again, just flick it out once and then flick it out heavily and such to do that. And then if you were just to press it once, you get the ringing of the fork, or the onkaku, with the like vocal ring. I forget what it's called, but that is the initial standby. But then if you were to press it again, you get a second standby of just simply the ringing of the tuning fork. Again, the onkaku, without the chanting. But now, to actually transform, you basically want to press this once, and then you either want to press it again or hold it down. So this one, we'll press it. To which that is the short transformation. Then if we were to do that again, and then hold it down, that is the long transformation into Hibiki. Again, I'll do those again. I'll switch them around just so then you can actually see what I'm doing back here. So that was the first standby with the long press. And that was the second standby with the short press. So it's really cool that you technically have 4 variations. You can make up 4 variations of the transformation, which is really cool. Obviously, you can just not have this fold out. And also, you can cancel the sounds out too. Because for the transformations, you have to wait for the first, like, 2 sets to press it again. But then if you were to press it, you can't just cancel it. like that. But again, you can, I just like the process of doing the transformation because I think they've definitely made it simple. Just simply, again, just flick it out, tap like so, and press. Like obviously I forgot to say, obviously you just raise this up to your forehead and then swipe the fire away like so. And then again, that gets a fairly simple toy. So I don't really think there's a lot to like really like harp on for. I wonder if this will help. There. Like, again, especially with the budget for like what's supposed to be a budget version of this toy, it's fine, especially for especially if we were to compare it to like the other Legend Henshin belt series belts they've done in the past. They never touched Hibiki. They've always kind of just pranced around it. So I really do like that this time they actually did try and bothered. Or they actually tried and such. And especially this is spectacular because Hibiki still doesn't have a CSM. I think it's the only Heisei Phase 1 series now that has no CSM representation. There's a CS, there's a complete selection version of the Onkaku, but again, that was basically the same thing like the Arkle and the Typhoon and such, where those things are just kind of more expensive versions of their DX counterparts and such. But like for them, again, for Bandai to like do this for like the final like wave of these things, I think is pretty phenomenal. But I think it's also just because the Kai's driver base, they still wanted to have the annual like, oh, here are two like main rider belts in the wave. Because I think to them, the Kai's driver was just like a bonus in this wave, just due to its coordination with Narakiri World. I think months prior, because they released the Kai's driver, but in line with like they made it as if it was like the original release, but obviously it was mainly done because of Fi's Paradise Regain. So I think I think Bandai kind of just had to do it because I don't think they wanted to do a Deca driver nor a Deno belt because they're still selling the version 20s of those things. So like just this is a really nice release. My only gripe about it, I guess, is just that I kind of wish sometimes I'll just accidentally hit the button when I'm trying to flick it and such, and I have to panic and be like, oh shoot. But like other than that, I can't really, you can't compare this thing to like the original DX version, obviously, because this is not DX price. This is a budgetary version of the same toy, despite I think being the same retail price as that original toy. So you can't argue that the original toy still has more value than this version because of it. This selling for like, oh, I don't know, because I got this off of Rakuten via Buy for I think $24. And I assume the original DX version back then had to cost $30 because of the springs or the automatic like fork spring, the LEDs, and the disc animal compatibility. Because it only had one transformation, but had sounds for the disc animals and such. But this one obviously just only has two variants of the ringing and two variants of the transformation. To which, honestly, I think is a fine trade-off. And obviously, for people that are a fan of Hibiki or just want a representation of, want a cheaper representation of this device for your like lineage of like main Ryder transformation devices, I think this is a really good pickup and such. Especially, again, I think Hibiki's transformation devices are really unique. So I would really love if they would. It would be cool if they would have done Ibuki and Todoroki / Zanki's, but obviously, like I said before, this was the last wave because now they are finally putting the super best belts in retail stores, but just bloating the prices for them, which is stupid. But again, I think it's really phenomenal for this to come out in the last wave of the Legend Belt Henshin, the Legend Henshin Belt series. This third version of the Legend Henshin Belt series. But yeah, I think that'll have to do with this review. It's not like the Hypersector, where I'm just kind of like spewing out nonsense. And it's kind of unfortunate because I did rehearse what I wanted to say for both of these, but now I mean, maybe it's just because like I'm actually recovering from a sickness and just trying to get these done before October hits, because it's September 30th. It'll be October in 3 hours. Ooga booga.